You've been there. The heavy body, the eyes burning with tiredness, the yawn coming on its own. But the moment you lie down, the mind just doesn't turn off. On the contrary, it accelerates. Thoughts arise without asking for permission. Memories, worries, scenes from the day, from tomorrow, from things that shouldn't even matter now. And here comes the question that many people ask themselves in silence. If my body wants to sleep, why doesn't my mind let me? This sensation is not strange nor rare, and much less a sign of weakness. In fact, it is one of the most common conflicts in modern life, and perhaps you are experiencing it every night without realizing what is really happening. There is a moment when the body begins to give clear signals that it needs to rest. Breathing changes, muscles relax, energy drops. It's as if the body says now it's time to shut down, but the mind, instead of following this natural rhythm, goes into a state of alert. She begins to review the day, anticipate problems, create scenarios, repeat thoughts, and the more you try to force sleep, the further away it seems to become. This generates frustration, anxiety, and that feeling of being too tired to sleep, but too awake to rest. If you've ever felt this, know that it's not your fault. What few people understand is that this conflict between body and mind does not arise out of nowhere. It is built, little by little, night after night, by stimuli, habits, and signals that the brain learns to interpret as danger, urgency, or activity, even when everything around it should indicate rest. Your body even knows how to sleep. It was born programmed for that. The problem is that the mind learns, over time, to stay connected, as if turning off was a risk. And the more this happens, the harder it becomes to find the internal silence necessary to fall asleep. Maybe you identify with that classic scene. You turn off the light, get comfortable in bed, close your eyes, and in a few seconds your mind starts racing. Thoughts about work, family, bills, decisions not made, conversations that could have gone differently. Sometimes they aren't even big problems, but the mind insists on bringing them up at that moment. This happens because for the brain, external silence becomes space for internal noise. When the day finally stops, the mind takes over, and it doesn't mean you think too much. It means your brain has been conditioned not to shut down. This accelerated state of mind, even with the body exhausted, creates a deep disconnection. The body wants to sleep, but the mind acts as if it is still necessary to stay alert. It's as if there was an invisible alarm on, preventing complete rest. And the more nights like this accumulate, the more the brain associates bed not with rest but with mental activity. The bed becomes a place for thinking, not sleeping. This explains why many people sleep on the couch but wake up when they go to bed, or why sleep seems to slip away just when we need it most. If you're listening to this right now and feeling like this description seems to tell your story, stay with me until the end of this video. Because understanding why the body wants to sleep but the mind doesn't let it is the first step to breaking this cycle. And throughout this content, you will begin to realize that this internal conflict is not your defect, but a learned response. A response that can, yes, be re-educated. And while we delve deeper into this subject, I want to reinforce something with you. If this video is making sense, if at any point you felt that these words describe exactly what happens when you lay your head on the pillow, share below in the comments. Write, "My mind doesn't shut off," or "I identify myself." These comments are very important because in addition to showing me that you are here with me, they help this video reach other people who are experiencing this same silent conflict every night. Also, take the opportunity to leave a like. A like is simple, but it has a huge impact. When you like this video, you are telling the platform that this content is relevant, that it deserves to be delivered to more people who are tired, overwhelmed, and think that they are the problem. If this video brought you clarity, reflection, or even relief, this like makes all the difference. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Signing up is what keeps this conversation alive. Here we will continue talking about sleep, mind, silent anxiety, emotional and spiritual rest, always in a practical and conscious way. The next videos will connect directly with this topic and will help you understand how to calm your mind, prepare your body for rest, and rebuild a healthy relationship with sleep. So comment, like, and subscribe. Stay with me until the end, because what's to come could change the way you approach your nights. And that's just the beginning. When we understand that the mind doesn't turn off by chance, everything starts to make more sense. This state of nocturnal alertness does not arise simply because you think too much or because you have some emotional defect. It is the result of constant stimuli, repeated habits, and conditioning that the brain has learned over time. The human brain was created to protect, anticipate risks, and keep you safe. The problem is that today, it receives wrong signals all day long and continues to receive those same signals when night comes. And then, even with the body exhausted, the mind remains connected, as if it were still necessary to monitor, respond, resolve. During the day, your brain is exposed to excess information, continuous decisions, notifications, internal and external demands. He almost never really rests. When night comes, instead of finding silence and slowing down, he finds continuity. Even if you are lying in the dark, the brain carries the rhythm of the entire day. He learned that stopping is not safe, that shutting down is losing control, that relaxing is letting something slip away. So it keeps you in a state of readiness. This is why, when the body relaxes, thoughts come strong. It's not coincidence, it's conditioning. These repetitive thoughts that appear at night are not random. They follow standards. They are often concerns about the future, reviews of the past, or internal demands that you were unable to process during the day. The mind chooses the night because there are finally no external distractions, and the brain, which spent the whole day accumulating stimuli, finds there the only space to release everything at once. The problem is that he doesn't know the difference between thinking to solve and thinking to rest. For him, thinking is acting, and to act is to be awake. Another important point is that the brain associates habits with mental states. If you spend nights lying down thinking, rolling from side to side, trying unsuccessfully to sleep, your brain learns that the bed is a place of mental activity. Over time, just lying down activates alert mode. The body even tries to rest, but the brain interprets that moment as a sign of vigilance. This explains why sleep becomes light, fragmented, interrupted by frequent awakenings. The body sleeps, but the mind remains on the surface, ready to react. There is also the issue of excess stimulation before bed. Lights, screens, sounds, information, intense conversations, unresolved concerns. All of this sends clear signals to the brain that it's still daytime. It's still time for attention. It's still necessary to be switched on. The brain doesn't understand schedules, it understands signals. If the signs say alert, he responds with alert. And then that very common scenario arises. You're tired, but you can't fall asleep. When he sleeps, he wakes up several times, and when you wake up in the morning, you feel like you haven't really rested. This racing mind at night is also directly related to unprocessed emotions, silent anxiety, disguised fear, constant pressure to handle everything. During the day, you continue working, completing tasks, solving what you can. At night, when the body stops, the mind brings to the surface what has been stored. And the more you try to block these thoughts, the more strength they gain. The brain interprets the attempt at control as a sign of threat and further increases the state of alert. The most important thing of all is to understand that this cycle did not start yesterday. It was being built little by little. Poor sleep teaches the brain to remain vigilant. Tired days reinforce the fear of not being able to rest. And so a pattern is created where the body begs for sleep, but the mind resists. Not because he wants to harm you, but because he learned that this is the only way to keep everything under control. The brain doesn't want rest, it wants security. And for him, security became synonymous with always being connected. When you start to realize this, something changes. You stop blaming yourself, stop fighting with your mind, stop forcing sleep. Understanding what keeps your mind on is the first step in teaching your brain that the night is not a threat. It is shelter. That switching off is not about losing control, it's about regaining balance. But before I advance to this next level of consciousness, I want to hear from you. If you identify with this conflict between a tired body and a racing mind, comment below. My mind doesn't switch off. If you want, you can also write, I identified me, or tell us in a few words what else happens to you at night. These comments help this video reach more people who are living exactly this, in silence, thinking they are alone. When this cycle repeats night after night, the impact is not restricted to bedtime. It begins to spread silently over the next day, and often the person does not even notice its origin. You wake up tired, even though it's been hours them in bed. The body rises, but it appears that something is left behind. The mind takes time to gear up. Reasoning is slow. Mood is unstable. Little things irritate more than they should. Simple tasks require enormous effort, and the feeling is of always chasing energy that never fully arrives. This is not laziness, it is not a lack of willpower. It's a direct reflection of a brain that couldn't turn off when it needed to. Throughout the day, this lack of mental rest manifests itself as difficulty focusing. You start something and get distracted easily, lose your train of thought, forget what you were going to do. Attention becomes fragmented, just like last night's sleep. The brain works, but it works in economical mode, trying to save energy because it hasn't been recharged properly. And the more this happens, the more the body enters a state of survival, doing only what is necessary to get through the day, with no room for clarity, creativity, or real presence. The energy also goes away little by little. It is not the exhaustion that appears after intense physical effort, but a constant dragging tiredness that does not disappear even with quick rest. Your body feels heavy. The urge to lie down appears at random times, but when night comes, the same problem repeats itself. The body wants to sleep, but the mind doesn't turn off. This cycle creates a silent trap. The more tired you are during the day, the more anxious you become at night about not being able to sleep. And this anxiety, even subtle, is enough to keep the brain on alert. Over time, something even deeper emerges: silent anxiety. It doesn't always come in the form of a crisis or catastrophic thinking. It often appears as constant restlessness, a slight tightness in the chest, a feeling that something is out of place. The mind is always anticipating, even without realizing it, and the brain, which has not learned to switch off at the right time, begins to live in a state of continuous vigilance. He observes, calculates, predicts, protects. However, this mode of operation, when not interrupted, exacts a high price. This price appears in emotions. You may feel more sensitive, more impatient, less tolerant of yourself and others. Situations that were once simple start to seem too big. Mental fatigue distorts the perception of reality, and without realizing it, you start to normalize this state, thinking that being tired, fast-paced, and unfocused is part of adult life, but it doesn't. This is the result of a brain that has never been given real permission to rest. The most dangerous thing about this process is that it becomes invisible. As there is no immediate collapse, the person continues to function. He works, takes care of his home, his family, fulfills responsibilities. But inside, you are always on edge. The body asks for a break, but the mind ignores it. And the more this happens, the more distant the feeling of true rest becomes. Not that light and restless sleep, but the deep rest that reorganizes thoughts, emotions, and energy. This is the turning point. When you start to realize that the problem isn't overthinking, it's not emotional weakness, and it's not a lack of effort to sleep. The problem is a brain that has been trained, day after day, to never turn off at the right time. A brain that has learned that always being attentive is more important than resting. And as long as this logic is not questioned, the body will continue to ask for sleep, and the mind will continue to resist. This awakening does not happen all at once. It starts with awareness, with the realization that something needs to change, not by force, but with understanding. In the next content, we will delve deeper into how this conditioning is formed, how the brain learns to stay alert, and mainly, how it is possible to reteach the mind to recognize the night as a safe place of rest. Because switching off isn't about losing control, it's about regaining balance. Before continuing, I want to hear from you. If you feel like you wake up tired even when sleeping, comment here, "I wake up tired." If a lack of focus and energy is part of your day, write, "tired mind." And if this silent anxiety accompanies you, even for no apparent reason, say, "I need to rest." These comments are very important because they help this video reach other people who are experiencing exactly this and have not yet been able to name what they feel. If everything you heard here seemed to describe your nights and days exactly, then you didn't come to this video by chance. If you identified yourself, subscribe to the channel now. Registration is what allows us to continue talking about mind, sleep, emotional, and spiritual rest, always with depth and awareness. The next videos will help you understand how to calm your mind, re-educate your brain, and get out of that constant state of alert that steals your energy. If you made it to the end, I really want your participation. Comment below, "I have arrived until the end," or "I identified myself." If you want, you can also write what makes the most sense to you at that moment. "My mind won't shut off. I wake up tired," or I need to rest. These comments help this content reach more people who are living this same conflict in silence. Don't forget to leave a like. The like is simple, quick, but it makes all the difference so that this video reaches more people who need to understand that it's not weakness, nor a lack of effort. It's a brain that learned when to switch off wrong. And before leaving, watch the next video that appears on the screen. It is a direct continuation of this topic and will help you take the next step after this awakening. Stay with me because learning to rest your mind can transform your nights and little by little your entire life.